When I was growing up, our backyard backed up to something we called the tick field, and past the tick field was the creek. To the right of our house was an empty lot stacked high with piles of leftover sediment and rocks from the construction of the neighborhood, and I can't remember a day before the age of 10 that I wasn't knee-deep in those dirt piles or ankle-deep in that creek, and it was definitely growing up like that led me to Swanee. Despite knowing that I wanted to go to school somewhere where I would have that same access to the outdoors, I did apply to Rhodes. And I interviewed for the Bonner Scholar program there before I interviewed here. But after touring here and seeing all that the domain had to offer, it was clear where I'd end up. My freshman year, I went to 3 sites: Blue Monarch, the Heritage Trail Project, and St. Mary's Convent. I went to Blue Monarch every Tuesday afternoon and St. Mary's every Wednesday morning. The routine of that long ride to Blue Monarch and back with Sarah Jane, the then site leader, and taking too long making coffee on cold mornings with Paul, the groundskeeper at St. Mary's, quickly became some of the best parts of my week. And little did I know that all that time spent with those two doing that work would go on to play a formative role in my next 4 years here at Swanee. I enjoyed working in the garden at the convent so much that I applied for the Sisters Organic Prayer Program, and it was one of the best decisions I could have made. That summer was the first time in my life that I had ever played a crucial role in creating something essentially from nothing and seeing it through from start to finish. Spending the summer in Swanee also allowed me to witness the official opening of the Heritage Trail to the public. And while this was not a project that I'd been a part of since its opening, it was deeply impactful to be a part of something that was made by and for the Black community here at Swanee. When classes started back up, I declared a double major in natural resources and philosophy and went on to serve as a site leader for the Heritage Trail Project and St. Mary's. And thanks to hearing about the opening from Sarah Jane, the then chair, I also ran for the class of 2025 Honor Council position during a special election, a choice that ended up with me serving as chair myself. And I never would have had the confidence or skills to do something like that if not for Bonner. In the summer between my junior and senior year, I followed on that same trail-building outdoor working precedent that I had set for myself, and I worked on a backcountry trail crew in Montana for the summer. It was one of the most simultaneously rewarding and challenging things I've ever done, and it really helped to open the door for me into the wide, wide world of nonprofit, public sector conservation work. While I have zero regrets in doing that work, spending 3 months in the Montana backcountry with the same 4 people, no plumbing, and no cell service can dramatically impact your ability to reintegrate into a community like Swanee's. I'd gotten really comfortable with spending weeks at a time only talking to my crew, and as you can imagine, I struggled a lot with returning to a place where you can't even go to your dorm's hall bathroom without being stopped for a conversation. My junior year was kind of a blur. I was wrecked with frequent panic attacks, and while I had dealt with anxiety and depression my whole life, the social anxiety and depressive episodes that I experienced that semester were like nothing that I'd ever been through before. But thanks to a lot of hours at CAPS and really good friends and understanding and supportive mentors, it did get easier. By spring, I had found a way to more effectively manage my mental health, and getting to go outside almost daily for labs and working at the convent was a really big part of that being able to happen. This last summer, I did an agroforestry apprenticeship at a farm run by a Cutie BIPOC collective. Cutie BIPOC stands for Queer, Trans, Black, Indigenous People of Color, and it was in Wisconsin, right outside of the Twin Cities. It was a life-altering experience, engaging in restorative conservation, sustainable management, and food distribution with and for queer people of color was a dream come true, and witnessing people make an ethical living while doing it was cataclysmic for me. I'd spent the last 3 years participating in trainings, dialogues, and workshops all about what meaningful community engagement entails, and listening to lectures and doing write-ups about sustainable land management, but this was the first time I'd actually witnessed both of those things intersect successfully at the hands of people who looked and loved like I do. I now know that what I'd like to do with my life is work in creating local, sustainable food systems, and that passion started in the garden at St. Mary's Convent, and that is all thanks to the Bonner program. I plan to do a term of service with Food Corps starting in August.